Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad.Minis. So I have a parcel here all the way from the Ukraine, from Tortuga Bay, or Tortuga Game Stable as it's now known, and they reached out to me. So they saw a scale comparison on the Mark IIIs that I did, that they produced, and very kindly sent me these miniatures to do a little bit of a review and a scale comparison on. So the miniatures I've received are from the Grimdarc with a C on the end rather than a K, Grimdarc 30 selection. And they're from the Betrayers range, and specifically they're the Space Gladiators, which are kind of similar in some ways to the World Eaters Legion from 40k. And what I've got here are the Slaughterers, which are a bit of a take on the Red Butchers, I would say, from the Warhammer 40,000 range, from the Forge World stuff. And Cataphractos Praetor, which is kind of like a Praetor, like a sort of leader. So the Terminators, you can see, come in like lots of components. These are kind of like a multi-part kit. They're resin, of course, so they need a little bit of tidying up, but actually not too much. I was very pleasantly surprised. It didn't need too much sorting out. So I go ahead and do a little bit of a check on all the pieces. 5 Terminators in all. We get a couple of extra pieces, couple of extra arms, and I actually got an extra set of legs, which I don't think I was supposed to get. So I got 6 pairs of legs rather than 5, so that was nice, but I don't think that actually comes with the official set. And so here we've got a good old chain axe, massive thing for a leader or sergeant or champion or something. And here we've got like another hand with a kind of skull. That's the option for the leader. And we've got 5 pairs of power axes, and they're very nice, kind of one in each hand job, dual wielding. And we've got lots of shoulder pauldrons here. They are different though. We've got the right pauldron is different to the left. The right pauldron is much bigger intentionally. And say the arms have definitely got that World Eater vibe with the chains down the edge, like that kind of gladiator vibe, which is really, really nice. Torsos are nice and chunky. Definitely a bit of a take on the cataphracti kind of Terminator suits here. Legs come in kind of this kind of format here, so one of the legs gets attached to the groin and the leg on the other side. And as I said, I received 6 pairs, which I think is a mistake, I'm not sure. And here we've got tiny little bits. You need to make sure you don't lose these. These are like the I guess like the gorget that goes round just underneath the head, and they come separately, I guess, so you can glue the head in nice and easily. And yeah, so don't lose those. They're very, very small. Okay, so that's quite a good selection of components there. As I said, with a couple of extras, and you can see here the heads actually, whoops, tiny things. The heads look a little bit like Grey Knight's helmets actually, don't they? But they've got the kind of suggestion of the butcher's nails going in the back of the helmet there as well, which is really, really nice. So yeah, I'm liking what I see. So we're going to go ahead now and put some of these together. Now, the legs actually have little kind of letters on them to tell you how they're paired. And you can miss these, so they're quite small. So just have a check, and that will tell you the correct pairing with the legs, so you don't have to do any guesswork there. And you need to do a little bit of tidying up in some areas, on the bottom of the feet, of course, kind of where the kind of mold release bits are, I guess. Nothing too much, just shave that down. You'll need to tidy up around the kind of leg sockets a little bit as well, but really nothing to write home about, guys. This is, for a resin kit, it went together very, very easily actually, so I was really pleased with that. Here you see is a complete legs. We've got some like terrain around the feet sometimes on some of these as well. This is actually the spare set that I'm putting to one side. It's a bit plainer than the others, so I might do some conversion work with that one at another time. So here we're getting more complete to put the arms on. And the arms will need a little bit of tidying up as well. There's some tabs to take off on the inside. Once again, nothing too surprising there. Here, look, you just got these sticky out bits you just need to shave off. And there's a very clear suggestion of where you need to put the arms. So once again, assembly, not an issue here at all. And one thing I would say that I learned is I think it's better to attach the axes before you attach the arms, so you kind of know where they're going to go. But, just a bit of a learning curve. But here you can see that I've attached 2 axes on this one. I'm going all power axes throughout because I've got the kind of Praetor miniature. I'm not doing a leader as such. I'm making them all identical in this squad. Yes, and the hands actually go on quite nicely as well. They've got a little slot just on the edge here, and they kind of slot very nicely into the kind of a forearm section there. They just kind of sit in there, and that kind of tells you where the hand should go as well. So that's very nice and secure. So here I'm opening up the kind of Praetor miniature, and yeah, he's a little bit simpler to put together. He's a bit more complete, you see, kind of legs and torso already in one piece. We've got a bit of a scenic base there, which is going to raise him up a little bit. 2 pauldrons and 2 different head options. We've got a bear head, which is really aggressive looking. Looks like something from Mad Max or something to me. And we've got a helmet, the same as in the Slaughterer's kit as well. And lovely big chain axe again, and we've got a bear arm holding a kind of decapitated head here, and I actually do something different, as you'll see later on, but that's a really nice piece to get. And I put mine together a bit differently. I use some of the spare parts from the Slaughterer's kit that I didn't use. I used, because we got 2 pauldrons here, I took advantage of that, used another arm from the Slaughterer's kit, and the kind of hand holding the skull is also from the Slaughterer's kit for the leader. I just fancied doing something a bit different with mine, but of course you can assemble yours however you want. This is the bare arm look, which is really, really nice, but I just wanted the bulky look with both pauldrons in place. So yeah, that's how I put mine together. So I did go with the bear head in the end, because I thought that was just too cool to pass up on, actually. I'm mostly a helmet kind of guy. I don't like bear heads, but this one really caught my eye. So here's the squad all put together, the Slaughterers, that is. And again, these are kind of, a suggestion really of the Red Butchers, the kind of World Eaters, kind of Terminators, kind of Berserkers. I will be painting mine at another time, not in this video, and I will be painting mine, guess what? As loyalists. You guessed it, guys. Yeah, I'm a loyalist through and through, so they'll be getting the kind of the white and the blue treatment, these guys, when I get round to painting them. But they look really, really nice. The Praetor miniature as well came out really, really well with a coat of primer. And these are just undercoated or primed, I should say, in with the Wrathbone spray. So nothing special there, just to help the lighting, so I can show you guys what they really look like. And yeah, nice and flexible, went together really, really well. No issues there at all. So really, really happy with assembly, really happy with the overall look of them. They look great, and I was so pleased to get these. But I'm going to do some scale comparisons for you, so you can get an idea of how big they are in relation to some of the official kind of Games Workshop miniatures. So first of all, let's compare one of the Slaughterer's Terminators against a Primara Space Marine. You can see here around about the same height. I'd say head height slightly lower on the Slaughterer. So I'm probably going to raise mine up a little bit on the base to compensate for that at some point. But there's no real issues here. They're definitely bulky enough to field alongside Primara Space Marines if that's your thing. So yeah, I'm actually quite happy with the size as is, although I'm gonna lift them up a little bit, because you know me, I've got a bit of a problem with this stuff. But a pretty good size, a pretty good overall bulk there as well. So moving on, comparing against a Horus Heresy Mark 6, which is probably a more appropriate comparison. You can see here the Slaughterer really dwarfs the Mark 6 Space Marine. Remember, these Mark 6s are a bit of an in-betweeny size, aren't they? And that's a really good comparison. So if you were putting these next to Mark 6s in Horus Heresy, which is kind of where they belong, you're not going to have any problems with size, guys. These look great next to each other, and really complement each other, I think, as well. And moving on, just another comparison for you with one of the older Mark 3s from Games Workshop, and you can see here quite a difference, as I'm sure you know is not going to be a surprise to anyone. But the Mark 3s really are very small by modern standards. But once again, that just reinforces the size and the bulk of the Terminator, which can only be a good thing in my eyes, actually. These two go nicely together as well. There's definitely some kind of overlap between the armor styles, which is nice. They kind of sit well, and they sit naturally together, as you'd expect. You know, these Terminators, these Slaughterers, kind of belong in the Horus Heresy range, really, don't they? That's what they're designed for, primarily. But yeah, looking really good against the older miniature there. Just for fun, bit of a comparison now against a new Cadian. Well, the Cadian kind of looks like a small child next to this thing, which is entirely appropriate. You know, you want these Terminators to be massive and overwhelming next to regular human infantry. I mean, they are, you know, otherworldly, and that's how I imagine them, you know, and I like that, and how it's kind of conveyed on the tabletop with these two next to each other. And I thought it'd be interesting just to put an old style Terminator. We've had a new Terminator release, or we're getting a new Terminator release very soon at the time of making this video, but this is an older style Terminator, just to give you another idea of scale and comparison. As you can see here, definitely a bit taller and a bit bulkier, which is good. The old Terminators are a little bit small, once again, by modern standards, so I thought that would be fun to see. And apologies that he's painted in comparison, but I didn't have any spare to undercoat for you, so apologies for that, guys, but I hope just gives you a rough idea of what you're dealing with. And moving on, let's now do a direct comparison with one of the Slaughterers and the Praetor miniature. And you can see here the raised up kind of stature really increases the kind of height of the miniature, doesn't it? And what a lovely pose. That's great with that chain axe buried in some poor legionnaire there. So he looks really good next to his lesser brethren. And actually, the legs are bulkier as well on the Praetor miniature. The arms and the legs are definitely a bit bigger, which is interesting. So moving on, let's compare the Praetor now against the Primar Space Marine. That raised up base really helps to give him that increased stature. No problems here at all. And that's kind of, not quite as extreme as this, but that's kind of what I'll be doing with the rest of the Slaughterers, raising them up a little bit. And moving on, comparing against the Mark 6, which again is probably the most appropriate comparison here, and looking suitably ginormous and ferocious next to the Mark 6, which is great. I mean, this is kind of what most people are going to be fielding them next to. So this is, you know, this is entirely appropriate and definitely, you know, one of the best comparisons. And once again, let's drag out that poor old Mark III Space Marine. There, that looks like he's like a bit of a toddler in comparison, but no, it's all good. We want our Praetors to be enormous and overbearing, so that's good. And why not compare the Cadian just for laughs? Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that guy, actually. Especially with that skull in his hand. You know, think this guy's going to be next on the hit list here. So yeah, that's about it for comparisons, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I want to say a big thank you to Tortuga Game Stable. It's so good of them to give me this chance to review their miniatures. I'm only a small channel, and I really appreciate it. And they've been wonderful to work with, and I really appreciate them sending me these miniatures. And they are gorgeous, aren't they? Do let me know what you think. And if you've enjoyed the content, guys, please consider liking and sharing. It really all does help. And if you're not already subscribed, consider giving me a sub. More comparisons on the way.